I actually believe that non-regulated hearing assistance in earbuds is going to be more popular than OTC hearing aids. Because when you say hearing aid, it evokes the stigma that people feel. And in the early going, you can see it because adoption rates for OTC hearing aids not very high. But if you do this in an ordinary earbud, you actually reduce the stigma. Now, the interesting thing is, for the first time, it appeared on Qualcomm's survey. Now, you see, not very many people, 16% of people, but still, that's a lot considering this was published towards the end of last year. And so the survey actually precedes OTC hearing aids being released. Yet you have 16% of the people using them for more than an hour. That's probably mostly conversation boost from AirPods because that was released about a year sooner. So it's already something that people are trying out and using to a certain extent, even without publicity. So it's really, I think, a very untapped need right now. Conversation boost, meaning doing nothing more than beamforming microphones, actually doesn't work too badly. If you do the beamforming microphones, this is according to the National Acoustics Labs, which is a well-known research organization in Australia. They actually measured the impact, and they got about 5 dB improvement in speech to noise by turning on the conversation boost, and another dB or so if you put in their noise reduction, which is basically some acoustic filtering to try and knock out some of the background. So between 5 and 7 dB improvement is meaningful. It really works, and this is the sort of thing you can do today, but it's really just the beginning. It's another one of those where doing beamforming microphones can be pretty complicated. It's difficult to get it right because the two microphones in an earbud are pretty close together and the microphones have to be properly matched. A lot of things to make that work properly. But again, there are more companies doing it. I'll highlight this one, Nuance Hearing. They actually did Starkey, the American hearing aid brand, has a table mic that you can put like in the middle of a conference room table and it will dynamically beamform on whoever's speaking. Well, they did it. And they also did, if any of you saw this, Luxottica, which is the eyeglass brand, who makes a lot of the brands you know, like they, for example, make Ray-Bans, that's theirs. They introduced or pre-announced hearing aid glasses where there's a microphone array, and Nuance Hearing did the beamforming mics for them. Actually, as a result, Luxottica bought them, but they're still also working in other areas. So there are companies like this one who are experts at beamforming and can do beamforming microphones for people who are not Apple. So again, I think this is one of those things where it's not only possible to do, but it's going to become more and more interesting to meet that unmet need. And the unmet need is actually large because we talk about people with age-related hearing loss could use beamforming microphones to substitute or ameliorate their age-related hearing loss and help them hear better in restaurants. But there's actually a vast number of people who don't have hearing loss but still have trouble hearing. Hearing aids won't do anything for these people because there's no correction to be dialed in. Again, the National Acoustic Labs, they looked at just the United States and they saw 25 million people who report hearing problems, typically in noise, but don't have hearing loss. So if you consider the US has about 5% of the world's population, and you put that against 25 million people, there's a lot of people who would love a little hearing assistance in loud places. And ultimately, beamforming microphones can only get you so far, like that 5 dB you saw with Apple. But on the horizon are machine learning techniques to actually separate out the speech from noise. Now, at this moment, it can be done where larger processors are available. So for example, the company Augmented Hearing that I'm about to demonstrate, they're doing it for the Greater Copenhagen Fire Department. Every emergency call that comes in, the person who answers the call can turn on this system. So if it's really loud where the person's calling in the emergency, in order to be able to hear that person better, they can kick this in, but they've got basically PC processor. It's down to being able to run on an iPhone, which is the demo that I have here that I'm going to play for you. And give it another generation or two of earbud processors, it'll work there too. Listen to the difference. Okay, so now I'm going to record using the voice recorder app. It's running now. We're waiting for the chainsaw to come back. There it goes. The chainsaw is running about 80 dB. I'll double check it again. It was 80 earlier when I tried it, but now I'm going to do it and measure it again. So that's with the recording going and the chainsaw running full blast. Okay, so now I'm going to record using the voice recorder app. It's running now. We're waiting for the chainsaw to come back. There it goes. The chainsaw is running about 80 dB. I'll double check it again. It was 80 earlier when I tried it, but now I'm going to do it and measure it again. So that's with the recording going and the chainsaw running full blast. Pretty amazing, don't you think? Imagine what that gets in an earbud. And what I like about this, you can think of it as another ANC mode. We don't have to have the hearing loss discussion here. We've just added a mode to ANC. And that makes it really attractive for all those people who struggle to hear in loud places and start to disengage because of it. There's now a solution coming for them, which can be part of an advanced true wireless earbud.